Good evening. There are a couple seats if people want to fill in. I know some of the guys in the back. There's definitely plenty of room. So if you want to fill in and sit down, you can. Of course, there's also a bunch of places to stand. Thank you all for coming tonight. The schedule is going to be, first we're going to give a presentation saying what the project's all about to let everybody get familiar with the project. Then we're going to have elected officials speak who are here, and then we'll open up to general questions and comments. And we are here, we want to hear from the community. We're glad, some of you guys were here before, some of you are back, and some of you actually couldn't get in last time, so we're very thankful to have a larger venue this time and that you're back. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and start what this project's planning to do. Let's go to the next slide. The Winners Chapel property is located right off of Defense Highway, Cox Road, and it's 1597 Defense Highway is the actual address, and with access right now planned off of Cox Road. Tonight I'll be your moderator. I'm Neil Parrott. I'm with Traffic Solutions Incorporated, and Dr. Ani, he's here with the church. Pastor Kobe is here with the church. Mr. Brian Kanji, he's the civil engineer on the project. He'll be answering a lot of the technical questions. Mr. Sean, the architect, he is not here tonight, is that right? Okay. Unfortunately, he was sick. He wanted to be here tonight. He sent it out today that he wasn't able to join us. William O'Kelly, he's the landscape architect. And Mr. James Fraser, he's the community liaison. Who's here in the back. Great. This is the brief agenda. We had boards up here, so a lot of you did have a chance to look at these before you sat down. At the end of the presentation, after we do questions, these boards will still be here. The engineer will be here. I'm the traffic engineer. I'll be here. Church members, if you have any questions, please come on up, and we'll be able to talk to you about those in front of these panels. From 7:45 to 8:45, in the presentation and questions section, again, 15 minutes at the end to kind of look. We do need to be out of here by around 9:30 at the latest tonight, so that's going to be our time constraint. But we do have it until 9:30, so gives us plenty of time. Great. This, again, is a repeat presentation. So from you all who were here last time, almost all the slides are the exact same. Some people complained last time that the north arrow on a few of the slides were different. And so now we've oriented it all the same direction just to make it a little bit easier to understand as we go through the slides. But other than that change, it's mostly the exact same presentation as before. And we really do want to just let you all know, the community, what is being planned by the Winners Chapel International Church. And we want to hear back from the community, from you all, and from your elected officials, some of your thoughts and some ways as we move forward in design that we could try and accommodate some of the questions and some of the concerns that might be out there. This is the project description. Really, it's Winners Chapel International Church is planning to develop about 18.5 acres, located 1597 Defense Highway. And then that just gives some of the details of the tax map. Go to the next one. I divided the project description into 3 sections. This just talks about the purpose of the project is to build a 64,000 square foot building with about 299 parking spaces in Anne Arundel County. It's a RA zoning district, and it would have driveways and utilities connected to it. I can go to the next one. And again, part of the goal is to get a grading permit so they can go ahead and get a building permit and build the project. That's one of the reasons, the first steps that the church needs to try and accomplish. Last meeting that we had was actually required by county law. We wanted to have the meeting anyway to let people know to get some input, but that was required by county law. This meeting is not required by county law. This meeting is one that the church wanted to do because we saw, especially you who were here last time, you know that we had an overflow crowd. So some people were inside and we had a microphone, well, a speaker outside so people outside could hear, and then eventually they were able to trickle in. But unfortunately, we couldn't sit or have everybody in the same room at the same time. So we wanted to have another meeting to get everybody together so we could present the information in a more comfortable manner tonight. Again, it was RA zoning and a religious facility on a lot of at least 2 acres with less than 300 parking spaces is a permitted use by the zoning RA. And so that's what this is, and the permitted use is what the church is seeking, under 300 parking spaces. So here it is, under 300 parking spaces, churches with less than 900 seats. Maximum building height will be 45 feet or less. And of course, the Winners Chapel plans meet those requirements. This is just an outline of some of the slides that you're going to see next. You're going to see the civil plans, you'll see some traffic comments, landscaping, and then architecture plans. So this is really the front page of the plan sheet. This is just a project overview, and you can see the site. Right up here is Defense Highway. This is Cox Road, and Cox Road goes through here. The church owns on both sides of Cox Road, so here and over here. Route 3 is over here, and Route 424 is down there. This shows a site development plan. Again, you can see access to Cox Road here and here is proposed, and then parking all around the church. And of course, Defense Highway is here. This is the existing site. It's got the elevations. I don't expect you to be able to see that, but this is what's there right now. Here's Cox Road, just cutting through the property. As you can see, this is the property. This is a more zoomed in picture of the building. Here's the building and the parking around it. And it's starting to show a little bit of the stormwater management features that would be on the facility. Again, zoomed in even more at this time. You can see the parking. This is the micro biodetention swales are going to be here and inside the parking lot. And this is overall utility plan. Really just shows the water, stormwater. It shows where we would get the actual water that would service the church, the sewer. You all may know from the last meeting that we were looking at first at trying to get public water and public sewer, and then as we look into it more, it looks like it's going to be a different direction, that we're going to try and do well and septic, and that's very similar to what the Mac Church, that's exactly what they've done, is my understanding, and it's about the same size as the Mac Church.
50% larger.
This is the basically the trees and how you're trying to save the trees are delineated here on this slide. It's kind of hard to see, but it's the landscape plan. Really, it shows a nice feature here as people would come into the church. And this is the back end of the landscape plan. You can start to see trees lining Cox Road, and here's Cox Road cutting through the property again. This just shows what's going to happen along Cox Road, what's proposed right now. Currently, the access to the church is along Cox Road, and the building only on the church side. We would widen Cox Road so you could have 2 lanes approaching instead of right now it's just 1. That would make it a lot easier for people to make that right turn to go onto Defense Highway. And of course, when the church lets out, you'd have 2 lanes of traffic instead of just 1.
Great.
And we mentioned this last time too. The church would like to build acceleration and deceleration lanes into and out of Cox Road, and if we're able to get what we'd like to build, this is what it would look like. It has the distances, and there's actually a better diagram where you can actually read it afterwards. Over here, you can actually look at distances. Thank you. It makes it easier to see up here. Go ahead and go back. Of course, the difficulty we pointed out last time was that the church can only go as far as people are willing to sell the land. If they're not willing to sell the land, they can't go in and get it. They won't be able to build those lanes if it's not sold to them. So they're already in talks trying to get land that they can to go ahead and build this. Now, there might be some other options also. I understand the other side of the road, there's some more right-of-way that's already reserved, so that's possible. But we're going to do what's reasonable and work with the county on what makes sense here. And also the State Highway Administration. That's who we submitted the traffic impact study through. They reviewed it. This just shows the level of service. We use something called a critical lane volume. Statewide, they use it. And so 450 at Cox Road is level service A during the PM peak hour. And of course, the Sunday peak hour, where most of the traffic will be generated from the church, is also level service A. 450. Okay, I'm sorry, this is all Cox Road. So that's existing conditions A and A.
They did this study in the
then
winter
total traffic
time.
Conditions, we would go to a level service B in the PM peak hour and a B in the Sunday peak hour with the church traffic. Just so you know, when you look at level of services, you go from A to F. And F is failing. F is where it's congested. You're going to experience a lot of delay. A is pretty much free flow. You're going to be able to come up, not wait much, be able to get out. So by comparison, if you're on Terrytown Road, you're trying to make a right or a left during those peak periods, it's not going to be the same kind of delay that you would have on Route 3. Route 3 at 450, that is a level service E right now in the PM peak hour. And in the morning, it's a level service A. It actually works very well. So that's 3 at 450. Now, 3 at 450, you guys might know the State Highway Administration has plans for Route 3 to try and upgrade it for capacity and for safety. And so that's something that's in the plans for the future. Now, we look at 450, and we'll have time for questions at the end. If you want to get more in depth, that'd be great. So 3 at 450 in the final condition, it was E to begin with. Background, which means the church wouldn't come in background conditions, but this means about a 3% compounded growth for about 3 years. That does go to level service F at 3 and 450. That's why it's good. The state highways can do something at that intersection. In the background condition, 450 at 424 is level service D in the PM peak period. Of course, they're both B on the Sunday peak hour. And then with the church, the total traffic conditions, 3 at 450 remains in F, and then Sunday peak hour at the C. 450 at 424 remains in F and remains in B in the Sunday peak period. Different people brought up sight distances and trying to see when you turn right or left out of Cox Road, what are the sight distances? Those were measured. If you're looking basically towards Route 3, you have 578 feet of sight distance, and that's intersection sight distance. This is kind of technical, but intersection sight distance is 3.5 feet to 3.5 feet. That's what you measure. Stopping sight distance is 3.5 feet to 2 feet. So this is intersection sight distance 578 and 524. Because basically, if we start looking at what you need for the design, right now it's 40 miles per hour is the speed limit on this side, and right on that side of the intersection it's 45 miles an hour. So if we're looking at 45, the stopping sight distance needs to be 360. We're going to exceed that easily. And then the intersection sight distance needs to be 500 based on the 45, and we've got that also. So here's a map of the traffic officer positions. One concern, of course, is on Sunday mornings, that's when the traffic will be coming in and out of the church, and there are different places in the county where you can go and you've got officers that control traffic coming into or out of church facilities. This would be no different, except for, after looking at it, we think it'd probably be a good idea to have 2 officers, one at Old Willow Way and one at Terrytown and Cox Road, to help control the traffic in tandem. That way, if they stop traffic on the main line here, if it starts to back up, which it wouldn't much, but if it starts to, it's controlled at the other intersection, so there's not a problem with sight distance as you crest the hill. I know you guys are familiar with the bar that's right there, and of course that's about, we're near where the crest of the hill is. So by having 2 officers here, that eliminates that condition.
Yeah.
And what it does do is help the Crofton residents from Old Willow Way and from Terrytown be able to come in and out during those peak Sunday hours when the church is coming in and out. Now remember, we only have 299 parking spaces, more or less. And it's going to be 299 is what we're looking at. When we have those, they're not all going to exit the church at the same time. That doesn't happen with churches. A lot of people hang out and talk. Some people leave early. Now you will have a peak flow, a peak 15-minute period, but it won't be 299 cars all going out during that 15 minutes.
Yeah. 3 groups. All freaking day.
Great. This just talks about what I talked about before with the explanation of having 2 traffic officers. There is the hill, so it helps to eliminate that condition.
I've been in the hospital for heart problems.
Of course, yeah, it would improve traffic flow on Sundays, not just for the church, but also for traffic from Terrytown Road and Old Willow Way. We talked about this earlier in the presentation, that the water and sewer, again, we were thinking of using city water and sewer, now we're using well and septic.
Great. So we're going out
These are a picture right here of the site location, so you might recognize this is Defense Highway, that's Cox Road, this is the church property. Here's an artist rendering of the church. We'll see a couple of these. And also you can get more details on those renderings here in the front later on. This just shows ground and floor and the upper floor of the church. A couple more views. Great. After the first meeting, what we did is we took everybody whose email we had and we emailed them just as soon as we scheduled this meeting.
No.
We got it Saturday.
So,
Never got it. No.
well, it is. Thank you. We couldn't read everyone's email, and a lot of people didn't.
Come on.
lying.
What we do have is everyone's addresses who signed in. We actually verified it using some other information. Some of them were hard to read, but we have everyone's addresses. We didn't mail it. What we did mail were everyone who was mailed for the first meeting, which was required by law for the first meeting, but of course not for this one. But we did mail folks who live within a certain area of the proposed church.
I live on Cox Road and I got
And
nothing.
we mailed the civic associations as well,
Yeah.
so they would know about the meeting. And we tried to make sure they had emails on that as well. And I can tell you that out of the emails that were sent out, I used MailChimp, we sent out about 150 emails. Over 70% of the people checked it and opened it, which I gotta say is wonderful. I have a bunch of email lists, and I never get 70% open rate, so that was very good to see. And I know that people forwarded it around, which I was very thankful for as well. We asked people to do that in the letter and in the email. Oh, sorry, let's go back. So after this meeting, what we want to do is send out the actual PowerPoint. Some folks already have that. I was able to send that to a few elected officials, but we're going to try and get it in the hands of people over here by email. We're also going to send out meeting minutes from this meeting and from the previous meeting as best as we can get them. Submit preliminary plans. Now that's within 60 days of the first meeting. They would need to submit, the church would submit preliminary plans, stormwater management plans, and the grading plans. If it goes beyond the 60 days, which it may, then we would have another meeting to talk about any changes that have happened to the plan before we would submit anything to the county. Great. And then of course there is another meeting. Once we do submit final plans to the county, there's another required meeting 45 days, within 45 days of when those plans are submitted. So either way, there will be another meeting either before we submit plans or after. It just depends on the time frame. Some ways that the church is contributing to the community. Cox Road will be widened by 14 feet all on the church property. We'll install a sidewalk from the church entrance to 450. Now we think that's a benefit to the community, but if they don't want it, that's not something that's required. We wouldn't have to put it in.
Oh, thank you.
And we're open to ideas and community amenities, things that the church could do that would benefit Crofton and the Gambrels area where they're located. Right, next one. Great. So what we're going to do right now, I'm going to hand it over. First of all, Pastor Adi is going to follow up on a question that happened last time, and then I'm going to hand it over to some elected officials as we go through. So first, let me talk to Pastor Adi, or Dr. Adi, sorry.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
We're very happy to see you all. And we are hoping tonight we're going to have a very fruitful discussion tonight. Thank you all for coming. We want to appreciate you on behalf of the church. Winners Chapel International is a church, as we all know. And we just want to let you know that we are loving people. We love you all, okay? And our mission is to liberate people from oppression. So we can't come to your neighborhood to oppress you. So I just want to give you a little bit of an insight because this question came up many times at the last meeting as to why did you pick this location? Why on earth did you pick this location? Just so that you can understand where we're coming from. So we were looking for a new church location. because where we are right now is a rented space. And we set out to look at what properties were available in the state of Maryland that could meet the purposes for building a church. Now, this property was at that time listed, 18 acres, and the size seemed to fit what we would need to do. And then also the zoning allowed for a place of worship. So we consulted with the people who listed the property and did some negotiations and agreed on a price, and that was how we purchased the property. As a matter of fact, at closing, the family that sold the property to us told us that their father or grandfather, whoever originally bought the land, would be happy that this land is going to be used for a church. So now, put yourself in our shoes. We found a land. We wanted to build a church. We looked for a land. It was available. The family said it's going to be, their father will be happy that this will be a church. The zoning permitted a place of worship. So this is how this whole thing started. Now, my question is, where were you guys when the land was listed and when we bought it? That's just it. Exactly.
It wasn't advertised.
Now, we wish that we knew your opinion at the time we bought the land. But we didn't. We didn't have that opportunity. All we knew was this land was available for sale. It can be used for a church. It's in Maryland. We're in Maryland. It's I think it's about 20 minutes from our current location, church location.